All right. Coffee hour is officially underway. Nothing counts unless it's on Instagram or recorded to the cloud, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right, so let me look at my notes here. Let's see. So I was looking something up. So a part of what I do, just for a very quick contextual background, part of what I do as a medical exercise specialist, I partner with medical professionals, like physical therapists is the most common, chiropractors, physicians,
Yeah.
orthopedists, and so forth. And there's a practitioner that within the next couple of weeks I want to reach out to. And this is a functional neurologist. So I really want to put some thought to this.
Yeah.
Looking at this medical professional, licensed doctor who he is, one of the services he offers is, and I hadn't heard of this, but it feels so basic, computerized dynamic posturography, which
Mm.
is abbreviated as CDP. Have you heard of that?
Um, I have not heard of those terms.
Okay. I hadn't heard of it either, so I just did some basic reading on it.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, wow.
Off the top of
Sorry.
my head,
Just looking
it's
at it.
something. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just looking at pictures of it online now. Yeah, I've seen these before. I didn't know what it was
Oh,
called, but
okay.
pretty.
Um, so you might know a little bit more about it then. I mean, from what the basics, it's you stand on this machine and then it looks at how you're stabilizing, if you're swaying, and I don't know how, but it also looks at visual vestibular system and the responsibility in that as well. I don't know if you have more familiarity with it.
Not a lot, but just from what I'm reading, it looks like it is a platform. It's got a force plate on the bottom, so it can measure as you're standing there, where is the weight distribution. And then it looks like it can change different sensory um, conditions. So changing
Mm,
the visual, vestibular, and proprioceptive conditions, that's how it tests which sensory systems are contributing or struggling to contribute to balance.
mhm.
Um,
I think it's pretty cool.
yeah, it looks fascinating. Yeah. I would love to get on there and test it out a little bit. So
Yeah.
you know a lot about how all those systems work to create balance.
Hmm.
So you have a huge leg to stand on
Nice
when you
point.
go talk to this person. Uh, what else do they do? I mean,
Um,
neurologist is going to do a lot of stuff, I'm sure, but that's kind of their big. That piece of equipment looks the opposite of cheap.
yeah. Yeah, I would think
So
it's
yeah,
not
I'm
like
sure they
25 bucks on Amazon.
yeah, I'm sure they promote the heck out of it and use it all the time. But yeah, is there anything else that or let me just back up. Like what kind of questions or talking points or things do you think you need some help or support with?
Yeah, I mean, just thinking it through, I was trying to think through a couple of things. How can, as the applied neuro coach, how can I help complement that? If this is somebody I could
Yeah.
potentially partner with to say, hey, when your patients are done and you want to refer them to continue their work, depending whether it's performance, pain management, so forth, how can I help complement that and
Yeah.
complement CDP? And then the other thought process was, what do we do sans that technology? That
Right.
technology does. What are some things that we do as applied neurology coaches? And I thought both of those talking points could potentially help with the conversation with this person. So that's why I wanted to bring up it. Just, you know,
Yeah,
get some thoughts. I don't know if anything jumps at you for some initial thoughts on that.
for sure. Yeah, lots of things. So how I would approach this, first of all, and this is just me, but um, it can be done many different ways. But how I would approach the relationship is asking questions
Hmm.
first and foremost. Just going in with just an open mind, a beginner's mind, and a curious mind to start to understand how this person is using this technology. And as they explain that, you will most definitely spark certain responses, and you'll start a conversation. And that's going to be your biggest thing, is getting over the barrier of white coat syndrome.
Oh, I like that. Very nice.
Yeah.
I never heard that.
Yeah, so there's going to be some implicit bias um, with most medical professionals that you're going to run into. Even with a medical exercise certification,
Hmm.
they're going to have certain stigmas and biases. And your first job is to refute those biases and show them that you can really help and you know your stuff. And that doesn't take much. It really doesn't. I've worked with numerous neurologists uh,
Oh,
in the past. Like, I've trained them, and they all hired me as a personal trainer, and they didn't even know that I knew anything about neuro.
wow. Okay.
So it was kind of fun to just throw out some like visual pathways and vestibular function, um, and see what their face does. But even being able to understand, like, and have a conversation about those things sets you apart from 99.9% of people. So
Hmm.
you're gonna immediately be like, oh, pleasantly surprised. And you do that by being humble and unassuming and just going in with curiosity. And then when you start talking, they'll understand that. Okay, so that's kind of like just meta, the way I think about building those initial relationships. It's always better when you approach it with curiosity, not with self-righteousness is not the right word, but like
I
super,
gotcha.
you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm really smart. Let me show you what I know. It's like, no, don't. That's not a good approach. Because
Right.
they've already got implicit bias and they're just going to come after you with like, oh, I went to 8 years of medical school and did a residency here. Like, what are you talking about? You know nothing.
Yep.
Don't get in that battle. It's not worth it
No.
because your knowledge is very different. It's same areas, but it's applied differently.
Hmm.
And that's where you really are going to shine, is when you have a conversation about like that technology. That's really cool, but there's drawbacks to it too. There's going to be, and the clearest drawback where us as neurotrainers really fill the gap really well and start to help a practitioner like this to excel and create amazing client outcomes is in the ability to take everything that they're doing, take that assessment, and then start to retrain in all of the positions other than neutral. So they're just standing there on a force plate and staring at this thing,
Hmm.
just standing in a neutral stance. And that's fine, but that's not how life works. And as soon as they get into a different position, as soon as they even just turn their head and start to walk, everything changes.
Hmm.
Their position relative to gravity, their center of mass, their momentum, everything changes. And so all of that function and all of that testing, it's not null. It doesn't go out the window, but it has to be it changes, right? So one of your big strengths is being able to assess somebody in the different positions and give them inputs or drills in those different positions to shore up the deficits that you might find with the technology.
Hmm.
So that's one thing, is you can really fill in the gaps and help him broaden his mind about how neurology works in more dynamic movements and different positions and how you can help train. And I wouldn't even wait until they're done with training with this person. I would be doing it in conjunction.
Yep. Yep. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then kind of reeling it back, like when you're just having this conversation and you start getting on these topics, one big one that's going to come up is sensory integration.
Hmm.
And so helping people to overcome sensory mismatch problems. And, we can go into depth if you want on that, but really it's just, the three satellites analogy about triangulating our position based on visual, vestibular, and proprioceptive input.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
these are all
remember
just,
that whole conversation?
I do. I remember it well. Yes.
Cool. So, like as far as knowledge goes, you've got the knowledge, right? Um, if there's any gaps, we can talk that through. Absolutely. But if you approach it from a place of humbleness and curiosity, so as to let them bring their guard down,
Hmm.
um, and then you display your knowledge um, and experience, you're gonna meet them on the level. And once you're on the level, then you can have a real collaborative conversation about how to work with these people and where you can fill in the gaps that they're missing.
Really like that. Okay. Okay.
So this is how I approach all the DPTs, the chiropractors, the neurologists, every medical professional that I come up against in my
Hmm.
last 15 years, even before I knew neuro and I was um, just a wellness director at a physical therapy clinic with a master's in kinesiology and stuff.
Oh, I remember you telling me about your background. Okay, yep.
So I would have to talk to these medical professionals all the time, and I would go out and meet with them at happy hours and try to get referrals for our clinic. And I learned quickly that it's much, much better. And this just goes for just everyone in life, right? If you approach any new relationship from a place of curiosity and and humbleness, um, then you know at a very fundamental level, you get them talking about themselves, and that's what most people want and like to
Yes.
do anyway. And
Yep.
so through that, if you can be a good listener and get them talking about themselves, they'll share their passions, they'll share what they like to do, they'll share what they love about this technology, and you'll start to pick out the gaps as well. Be like, oh, that's really cool. Have you thought about this? Or what do you do in this scenario? Like, you know,
Hmm.
um, and then you can be like, oh yeah, we learned this. I knew this. This is what I did with a previous client, right? This could fit really well, possibly. And yeah, they'll be on board. They'll get it. If it's a solid professional that really wants the best for his patients, then you are going to be absolutely the best option as a collaboration to work
Yeah,
with.
and I've had some recent success of getting the buy-in with the last few medical professionals I've worked with. Most have been physical therapists. I'm definitely getting the buy-in. I haven't gotten the referrals yet, but it's only been anywhere between a month and two. So, these don't happen overnight. So when you had these conversations, and it sounds like, I really like the approach you're describing because it's generating conversation. It's not just
Yeah.
this is what I do and this is who I am. It's really this is how I could help, this is how I could contribute, this is how we could partner um and you're also asking about them and then it's just more genuine and it's starting a conversation.
Yeah.
Was it so going back to the question though, so was it your role particularly as a wellness director that led you to these medical professionals and that like it was part of your role to speak with them or were you actually going out on your own and pursuing them?
When I worked in for the clinic and I was the wellness director, it wasn't my specific role
Hmm.
to do that. We had a marketing department to do that, but I would go support them and meet these professionals just because I could speak to what I do better than they can, you know.
Hmm.
But no, it wasn't my specific role. But when I started my business,
Hmm.
then it became my role, right?
Hmm.
All the marketing was then on me, and so I would go out. Um, and it was not my main source of business. Looking back, it probably should have been a much bigger part of my business because relationships are everything. I mean, and
Yeah.
even just one solid relationship and referral source can keep a solopreneur afloat,
Yes.
right? So you're looking for one that sends consistently, and then you just foster that relationship, and it'll grow from there. Um, yeah. So when it became my specific role, um, these days I go to marketing events with my brother. He owns a mobile medical company,
Hmm.
and I've gotten plugged in with a little bit with the industry that he's a part of, which is personal injury. So there's a lot of medical professionals, chiropractors, PTs that are dealing with auto accidents mainly,
Hmm.
and the attorneys and all the scum and all of the good people that are actually trying to make people better. It's a wild industry, but um, you start to just get plugged in and you start to see the same people, and relationships kind of come out of it. So there's that way. Um, like find a group or an industry that you can plug yourself into, like functional neurology. Um, I mean, personal injury is not actually a bad one because, I mean, first, well, PI is a little hard because they're dealing with auto insurance and Medicare and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Now, that's really interesting when you say like a marketing event and look at the industry. So, meaning look at physical therapy and go to some of their events. Is that an
Yeah,
example?
absolutely.
Okay.
That's the
Interesting.
place where you're going to meet the most of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you start going to them consistently, you'll see the same people, you'll build friendships,
Yep.
and then referrals start going. Like that's what I found in the referral game.
Hmm.
It's really hard, to be perfectly honest. It's hard to get referrals when you don't have a lot to reciprocate.
That's a part of it. Yeah. It is a two-way street, but it's not a 50-50. It's more of an 80-20 in
Yeah.
my favor. So yeah, that is a part of it. I mean, a part of what I try and sell and to speak to them is um just making their business model a little bit bigger, having that option and extending their services, having that step down program and offering something that most places don't offer, something so that you're not just saying, all right, you're done, goodbye. And then I could also refer them back as needed if, God forbid they get re-injured or,
Yeah.
something swells up again. I know how to appropriately send them back and so forth. But,
Yeah. And
um,
you will send some people back, but it probably won't be nearly as much, right? Like you said, 80-20. So how
yeah.
do you make up the value that is seems to be more one-sided? So
Yeah.
I thought about this a little bit, and some of the ideas, I mean, the some of the ideas I've come up with over the years were first education. Like you can come in and do education on your medical exercise, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you have the unique ability and opportunity to speak to the medical exercise um, certification or framework and neurology and start to overlap those things,
Yes.
right? So you could speak to that better than almost anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's powerful. That's cool for the practitioners. And that also is a huge authority boost when you go in and just give like a free 1 hour education on something that they're interested in. If you help them learn something new, they love it. They'll eat it
Absolutely.
up and they'll immediately put you on a higher playing field, essentially, in their perception.
Yeah.
So you build authority that way, and you bring value to them because you're teaching something cool. And
Yeah. Love
you
it.
could also do patient education as well, and offer that. Or you could do a straight monetary value where you sell things at a certain rate and they get a cut of it. Because you as a
Oh, yeah. I was always told in my medical exercise training that you shouldn't do kickbacks, that any therapist that
yeah,
would want to kick back is probably not, that's what was specifically taught. That's probably not the therapist you want to work with if they want to kick back. So it's an interesting thought.
true. I mean, I I would tend to agree with that, but also, you know, it is what it is. Like we live in a
Hmm.
world that money is our main resource. So, um,
Right. There's pros and cons to it.
yeah, for sure. And you can feel that out. But I'm sure you can think of many other ways to add value. You know what I mean? Maybe you come in and do a free workout class in their clinic,
Hmm.
once a month or something.
That would be
Right.
fun. Yeah.
So any way that you can add perceived value so that they are more likely, because they need to think about you. So
Yes,
um, continually reminding them that you exist and that you can do these amazing things. The best therapist is going to do it just because they want the best for their client.
exactly. Yes, agree.
But it doesn't hurt to grease the wheels a little bit.
Yeah.
Not even necessarily with, kickbacks or profit sharing or whatever you want to call it. But there's lots of other ways to increase your perceived value.
Yeah. Definitely give some great things to think through. So I'm just thinking because we're recording and if anybody listens to this from an applied neurology perspective, what have been some things in your past that you have shared, maybe specifically with a medical professional that you have said, hey, I can come train? What's been in your experience?
Um, hmm. Well, just yesterday,
Ooh.
I had a conversation with he's a DO, so doctor of osteopathic medicine from Spokane and orthopedic um, specialist. Orthopedist?
Oh
I
my
don't
God, I do the same thing. I don't know what they're called, but I think
know.
they're the same. I think.
Yeah. So anyway, he has an integrated medicine practice up in Spokane, and um, he contacted me. I actually played football with him, but I haven't seen him in 15 years. And
Cool.
we had our homecoming last weekend. He was talking with um, a strength coach that I work with, who was my roommate in college. I've been working with the Montana State football team,
Hmm.
and I'm donating my time to them because they're not paying me. It's not in their football budget, and it's because it's not proven. And the head
Hmm.
strength coach is an old timer who he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what this is. We're old school, like. But my buddy, my roommate, is like, this is amazing. I
Hmm.
need you. Like he's sending me his most complicated and confusing cases of
Wow.
pain and performance. So I've worked with a few of their athletes totally free of charge and just helping them out. We're building case studies so that we can then take it to the athletic department and possibly contract my services or figure out some way to get me paid and
Hmm.
to help their team. So that's what we're doing. I'm doing that for free again as kind of a way to get in. But
Yep.
regardless, this has now turned into that coach is like spreading the word, and he spoke to our other buddy, who had no idea what I do, didn't know anything. He's like, "Holy cow, that's really fascinating." And then in his mind, he's like, "I wonder if I could use that with my patients." So he reached out
Mm.
to me. We had a conversation, and now he's a client of mine. And I'm going to be teaching him like how he can use this with his patients. So amazing, great.
Yeah.
But the conversation that we had was really, he led the conversation. I just asked questions, right? Like we were talking about, because I'm curious about what he does and how he operates. Once I know a little bit about that, then I can go layers deeper to start to explain the neurology underneath what he's already doing. So, as an orthopedist and a DO, he is using like some kind of ultrasound technology to peek under the hood, so to speak, see what's going on with the tissues. And then he's prescribing injections, ozone therapy, lots of holistic, non-invasive, and when I mean injections, I mean like ozone injections or PRP, not really doing like the cortisone. He's staying away from like invasive treatments. That's his
Gotcha.
whole thing. It's all non-invasive, holistic stuff. So he's trying to use all those tools. He's taking a muscle activation technique, MAT class next month. Again, so, and like most people you run into out there that are not already tuned in with the neurology side are doing advanced proprioception. And so that was kind of the subject that I brought up to him. I was like, that's really cool. RPR, like reset, reflexive resets, lymphatic stuff, active release technique, like the list goes on and on and on of all of these different modalities.
Hmm.
But they're all below the neck, right? They're all just advanced proprioception.
Mm-hmm.
So what I explained to him eventually after we talked about all these different things was like, these are all great. And if you keep peeling back the layers of all of these different modalities, you always run into the nervous system. And the nervous system governs everything. So wouldn't it behoove us to go directly at the nervous system and start working with it intentionally and precisely? Let's go directly to the brain, assess its function, and see if we can change it for the better. Everything else that you do will work better when you have that foundational knowledge and tools to work directly with the nervous system. That was like the crux of my argument. That was it. And everything
Mm-hmm.
else was just examples. Like he was talking about somebody that had come in with rheumatoid arthritis and they couldn't lift their shoulder up past 90 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And he did this ozone therapy and this stuff and it really helped. And I go, that's awesome. That's awesome. Here's why that might have worked. Here's like why rheumatoid arthritis might exist in the first place, right? Understanding like that the conversation about threat, understanding how when the threat level is just out of control for so long and the brain doesn't know what to do, then it starts attacking itself. It's essentially
Mm-hmm.
what an autoimmunity condition would be. So these different analogies, these different ways that we've all learned how to talk about neuro and apply it. When you're speaking with somebody like that, it's like you just um, wait for the gap, and then you fill the gap with your neurological knowledge. Here's a classic one in the below the neck realms, traditional realms like
Mm-hmm.
PT, chiro, osteo. They're all taught from a biomechanical perspective,
Yep.
musculoskeletal perspective, right? You have back pain. Well, it's because your spinal erectors are chronically tight and your abs are weak. So you
Mm-hmm.
got to stretch and strengthen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, why are my abs weak? And why is my back tight? Why is the muscle imbalance there? And it's like, well, it's because your pelvis is anteriorly tilted and you got an extra curve in your back because of it. It's like, well, why do I have that curve? And why is my pelvis tilted? Well, it's because your back is tight and your core is weak. But why? Well, because your pelvis is tilted. It's like, what are you talking about? Now we're just going in circles. Come on. There has to be a deeper reason why. There has to be something that happened first, right? Unless you were like literally born that way, then that creates the neurology, or the neurology creates that, right? Well, I'm skipping ahead, but again, it was explaining that, but what is informing or causing all of these things to happen when you start peeling back the layers? It's the nervous system, it's the brain that is creating the tension in the back. It is the brain that is putting the brakes on and stopping or slowing down or lowering the strength. Like, man, I just talked with another guy last night, and he was more of an insurance guy, but he had been through 50 different modalities for healing his back pain. And he has degenerative disc disease and spondylolisthesis and a bunch of things. And he's been
Mm-hmm.
to everybody and nobody helps. And he's like, "Oh, I'm all right if," sorry, he's got a South African accent. I'm not good.
I didn't even pick up on that, but now it's fun that you did that.
Stopping myself before I get into it. But he was telling me like I'm all right if I do my stretching and do my core exercises every day. And my question then was like, well, you must have the strongest core ever if you were to work in your core every day. He's like, no, it's not really because it keeps going back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why would that be? If you continue doing the exercises, why would it not stick? Don't muscles get stronger? Why are you not increasing strength? Why is that posture not correcting itself? And for him, it was like, uh, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, well, I'll tell you why. It's because your brain. And then we get into it. Then you open the door for the conversation about like the higher order systems. Like how's your vestibular system contributing to your posture and the muscle activation, especially in the posterior chain? How is your brain stem contributing to your muscle tone, your joint stability, and your posture? How
Mm-hmm.
is your cerebellum coordinating the movement of different muscles, anterior, posterior muscles, right? All of these different brain areas, all of these things that nobody is looking at. That's the key. Like no one
Mm-hmm.
is even thinking or aware of these things most of the time. So that's where you can step in and be like, listen, you got to at least look at these things, right? And I can assess them all in 1 hour and let somebody know, like, you got a deficit here, you got an issue here, this is contributing to your posture, this is contributing to your pain. Like, you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge selling point for somebody that has no idea about any of this neurology, right? Just making them understand that you are missing out on so much opportunity, right? Sometimes I'll go back to the neural hierarchy and this sensory integration issue, like you're talking to this functional neurologist.
Mm-hmm.
Your proprioceptive system is sending like 10 million signals per second, right? To your brain about where you are in space and what's going on. Most people
Mm-hmm.
are only working with the proprioceptive system, and
Yep.
you can get pretty far there. But your vestibular system is sending 2 million signals per side every second for these tiny little things. So relative to your size, that's a lot of signals.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impactful to be totally disregarding it and not even looking at it. Your eyes are sending 150 million signals per eye every second. There are more nerve fibers in your optic nerve. There's 1.2 million axons in each optic nerve compared to your corticospinal pathway. So all voluntary movement coming from your motor cortex through your spinal cord to your entire proprioceptive system is 1 million axons. There are more in just your eyes. So again, if you're not even looking at it or you're not even aware of it, that is a huge amount of opportunity that you're missing out on to affect people's pain and performance.
Mm-hmm.
So if you did nothing else but help somebody understand that, they would be silly not to collaborate with you in some way.
Yeah, that's I love your talking points, and those are things I don't necessarily know off the top of my head, so it's just great to hear it and continue to think about things and things to learn so that I can better speak to it in real time.
Yeah.
And just different ways of approaching it too.
Yeah, there's a million ways to skin that cat.
Yeah.
It's all about finding what matters to them, right?
Yes.
Just like a client, you know, make it real, make it tangible for them. Um,
Yes.
in the PI world, a lot of people get into personal injury for the money.
Yes.
It's rare that they get into it to actually help people.
And that's been a big part of the approach that I've gone and as I continue to get more and more practice speaking with the medical professionals, it's, hey, I'm here to do what's best for your patients. It's, you know, when you talk to the ones that really are truly professional, it's easier to get the buy-in pretty quickly.
Yeah, 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 as it should, if they're really in for it.
Yeah.
I bring up the PI example because for the most part, that's what they care about. And they give lip service to the, oh, we want to get good outcomes because that usually means they get more referrals and they get more business.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the care for the patient usually ends. But I bring it up because if most of them are mostly concerned about how much they can bill insurance and how much profit they're going to make on it, then I might talk about it in those terms. And I might say, here, um, we haven't found a good way to bill neurotraining services for insurance yet, but we'll find it. But regardless, it's like, well, we can do this thing and you could bill it for this. So it's going to increase your bill. It's going to increase your profit. Great. But also, like when I can get your patients better in less time, which for some of them is like, I don't want that. I want them to continue seeing people to max out the lien on their policy so we get the most money paid out, right? That's their
Mm.
mindset. So I might, if I know that's their mindset going in, I might be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get them better quicker, but that also means that your reputation is going to get better and better about getting people results. Use that in your marketing. You're going to get more volume of people.
I like that.
So you just got to show them how it's going to work in their favor, right?
Yep. Yep. That's a great one.
So again, it's all about knowing who you're talking to and what their
Yep.
motivations are.
Yep. The what's in it for me factor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. Hey, Kate.
Hey, Kate,
Hello, guys. I'm sorry. I was trying to get here, but I thought, well, 15 minutes is better than nothing, but I'm still driving.
you got here.
I
Glad to have
got
you.
here. Thank
Nice.
you.
Yeah, we've actually been having a pretty interesting conversation about referrals, talking to other medical professionals about referring business back and forth and how to even talk to some of them, um, which can be tricky. But my entire um, thought process behind this is just approaching it from a place of curiosity and understanding what they want, what their motivations are, and where their gaps are, and how you can fill those. Because as a neuro pro, you can fill all the gaps. So it's just being specific about what's in it for them and how you're going to help them grow their business. Because it is hard as a trainer, coach, um, to really reciprocate that business in any meaningful way for them. So you got to find ways to increase your value um, in their eyes in whatever way you can. So again, back to like education, workouts, nutrition classes, wherever their gaps are, if you can help them in any way to increase their value in their patients' eyes and to increase their business, that's where you're going to really win. So you can kind of think of it more as like a real straight up collaboration. I think it should be that way. Whereas where you're like, yeah, you want to work with their patients, but you want to build their business for them, right? Or with them or help them, right? If you come with that mindset too, it's going to change the whole dynamic because now you're approaching them and you don't want something from them, which is what they're going to initially think. Oh, this person wants something from me. They want my business. They want referrals. They want my
Mhm.
patients. But if you approach it from the standpoint like I want to partner with one or two providers that I can really help build their business by getting them incredible client results.
Yep.
That's a
And
totally
Brenda,
different approach than anybody out there is doing in the referral game.
right, right. It's just, hey, this is what I do. These are my services, and how can you help me?
Yeah. Can I leave a card at your front desk?
Yeah.
Nobody ever calls us.
No, that would be rare. That's too easy.
Yeah, right. The board at the coffee shop with 50 business cards on it. It's like,
Yep.
who, who's calling these people? Maybe they do. I don't know. I've never called anybody. I go to my friends. I go to my doctor. I go to my trusted colleagues and I ask them, who do you use?
Right.
Who's good? Tell me. Oh, Cheryl did this workout class a couple weeks ago here, and she talked about this thing. She'd actually be perfect. You should talk to her. There it is.
Yeah, that's what we're wanting. Yeah.
So it's about being seen. About being seen and filling the gaps and helping them build their business in a collaborative partnership.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
because
referral game.
to add to that, Brandon, that's such a great idea because especially with like other PT practices, I mean, they're also becoming a dime a dozen. So when you can give them something to stand out to actually make them different than all the rest of their competitors, yeah, then you're really in that perfect space of the win-win for everybody, right? It really
Mhm.
creates that, but you're also bringing something to the table that makes them unique in the first place and something that they can then advertise so they can get more people in the door, which ultimately helps you. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful system.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the type of like you want to be selective about how you actually approach. Like if it was me, I'd be looking for somebody that's a little bit younger, driven, ambitious, open-minded, and is building a practice that they want to grow. That's who I want
That's
to
a
partner
great
with.
thought. Yeah, to get somebody who's just starting out, that's easier. And for me, I've been I target the 50 plus crowd. So there's that part of me that also targets folks that are closer to my age and have X amount of years of experience, but still, I love the idea of a private practice because it it just lets them stand out a little bit more, similar to what we're talking about here. Do something that the other places aren't doing,
Yeah.
and I think you could have more success potentially. It could go either way, but with a private practice versus like a corporate type setting.
It's going to be, well, probably going to be easier in a private practice. However, even in a corporate setting, if you can make a relationship with individual therapists, that's where you're
Yes.
going to win in there. And then the opportunity to spread out in that corporate kind of practice might be great, but either way can definitely work. If
Yep.
it's me, I prefer the private practice because they're already driven and are really all about value and building something. And so they're going to be more on your wavelength.
100% agree. Yeah. And Brenda, what are some things that come to mind just for fun now with our final minutes here? Um, when you start to get into the conversation about, well, how do you do that? How do you assess vestibular visual? I mean, some of the basics that come to mind for me are like balance progression, the usual lunge, eye circles, big H, Brock string. So what are some things that come to your mind as well?
You nailed them.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
it's yeah. So vestibular, balance progression, VOR, bouncing, shifting.
hmm Okay.
Looking at each of those with a close eye and looking for any dysfunctions or threat. And then visually, yeah, Brock string to check for suppression, pencil push up, eye circles or big H, saccades.
Okay.
If you did like those four things, you're gonna have a really good idea, big picture idea of how their eyes are working,
Yep.
movement wise, convergence, divergence wise, and then checking for suppression.
Love it.
That's it. Like that's like the basic. Or well, and then infinity walk I would throw on there. You
Hmm.
go into assessments with the infinity walk. We don't talk a lot about that in the mentorship, but there are certain things you can look for. But I would just do it just in general because it's such a high payoff for most people.
Yeah.
And and if you're already thinking there's some mismatch going on, that can be a really powerful tool to just pull out of your hat. Um, so yeah, those are my top, thoughts, at least, initially, and so simple to do.
hmm
And really at this point, it's all about just being able to speak to it. So like if I'm with a new possible referral partner and he's a functional neurologist. He knows all of these things. He probably knows all these assessments or he knows of them. But if you could actually get him to participate and do them with him with the reassessment process, you'll blow his mind.
Ooh, okay.
Oh,
Love
for
the
sure. you'll blow his mind, you'll teach him something about himself, and you'll be able to speak to it. And then you can talk about what you would do to correct it. And that
Love
could
it.
take, yeah, that could take 10 minutes. It could
Yep.
be really simple. You don't even have to do all of them. You could just do one or two. And like, oh yeah, your eyes aren't moving very well over here. You know, here's how that can impact your balance. Oh yeah, your balance progression was really shaky on this side, right? Those canals might be a problem, right? Um, here's how that can show up with sensory mismatch and pain, and here's what I would do to fix it. Because functional neurologists are good at diagnosing. Where they struggle is in the application of their knowledge and actually getting people better in a way that sticks because they're
Hmm.
stuck. They're hamstrung. They're stuck with protocols and neutral stances. And so
Hmm.
they say, do this eye movement for 30 seconds. Don't stop until it's done, and do it standing in neutral. All right. That might go well for 1 out of 20 people, but why are you choosing 30 seconds? Why not get them out of neutral? Like, and they never think about these things because their clinical evidence and their traditional training told them not to because it wasn't necessary, didn't matter.
That's really interesting. You're generating a whole thought here is I don't know. I've never been to a functional neurologist as a patient, so I actually don't know what they do now that you're saying that.
Yeah, and that's another thing, another tactic to take is to go be a patient,
Yeah.
right? I'm just going to raise this up while we're talking, but you can go be a patient, um, and you're going to really see the gaps when you do that
Yep.
based on everything you already know. So, um, just more ideas for you to garner different ways that you can approach the conversation.
I'll tell you what, Cheryl, I did that. I took my son to one of the brain balance centers. I don't know um if I shared that in M6 when you were on or not, but in short, I went there with my notebook. I took my son. I wanted to
Hmm.
be the nerd who was going to take all the notes and learn all this cool brain stuff. And
Hmm.
they weren't aware of any. I mean, I took him snacks, right? I was treated like I was a helicopter mom. He doesn't need the snacks, and he's an hour and a half in our assessment. Um, they didn't have that understanding, right? He had a headache for 3 days after because they pushed him so far just in the assessments because they didn't understand minimum effective dose and
I
right and getting what the information that they needed from the assessment and then stopping rather than having them do like Brandon's saying, do it for 30 seconds, do it this many rotations, right? So it is really interesting when you get to sit on the other side of what you think you're going to get. And then you realize that whole other layer that we have is really powerful.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of them don't understand that.
I remember you telling some of the story during it must have been sometime during M6 when you went through that and you were questioning them on a handful of things where it didn't
Yes.
even sounded like you were, doing it in the right way and in a professional and respectful way. And if I'm remembering correctly, they didn't love it. Probably
No,
because you were right.
they definitely didn't love it. And Owen's body didn't love their assessment for the next 3 days either. So, yeah, but it is like, I'm still so thankful that I went and did that because that gave me more confidence and more steadfastness than
Hmm.
anything else I've done.
Wow.
So yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I'd encourage it, Cheryl, like go be the recipient and just come out of there shaking your head and be like, damn it, I'm now even 1,000 times more excited to do what I do because nobody's talking like this.
Awesome.
That'll give you a lot of confidence to go and
Yeah.
experience that.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. All right, guys, this was an awesome conversation. Thanks for bringing this up. Cheryl, thanks for showing up. Kate, always good to see you guys. I gotta go teach on the insular cortex today. So
Oh, awesome.
off I go. What's that?
M7?
M7's today, yeah.
Awesome.
Teaching,
All right.
teaching
Well,
M8
Brandon,
tomorrow too.
are you
So
teaching M8? I know you have to go.
I am teaching M8 tomorrow.
See you
And
then.
Oh, right,
M9.
I'm going to be M9. That's the other one.
Yeah,
Okay.
M9 will be in December, so that'll be fun.
Excellent. All right. All right, Brandon. Well, thank
Thanks,
you so
Brandon.
much. This was great.
Always a pleasure. See you
All
guys soon.
right. Take care.
Bye.